Don't you love that nice little intro? I feel like I'm on the set of a TV program. Anyway, welcome to Monday Night Live. It's Yvonne here, founder and CEO of Women's Fitness Adventures. So nice to have you with me tonight. I'm going to talk about, each week I, talk into this little green dot and hope that someone's listening. And I'd love your feedback if you are. I'm going to talk about when a crack becomes a canyon. And how I got to thinking about this was a visit to the physio last week. So as some of you know, I have been, had a very big year. I've been out and about and all over the place and seen lots and lots of amazing places in the world. I've hiked so many trails this year. I've carted my backpack to all different places and locations. And, every time I go somewhere far away and close to home, I listen to women, I listen to hikers, I listen to stories. And one of the things that I have to do when I get home, and this was a particularly long stint that I'd been away with a personal holiday, then a quick time back at home, and then off to run the marathon and a downtime from that, and then our Corsica hike, was that last week I spent, in between all the catching up for work, I spent time doing those life administration things that we all have to do. So I went to the optometrist. So in the next few weeks, you'll see a new pair of glasses because I'm not particularly kind to them. I went to the physio. I had to see a couple of specialists. I caught up on my gym program. I made all these other appointments, just all those life administration things that we all need to do from time to time. And it, in discussions with those, I guess, allied health people that are connected to my life administration, we got to talking about, when something doesn't quite go to plan and how that, in my head, that crack can be turned into a canyon. So I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit more and share some of my stories about that, and also share some generalized stories around how I think cracks and canyons can form. And this is not a geography lesson, so let me assure you of that. So hello, Louise. We missed you this morning. Hope the car's all sorted. Hello, Leanne. And hello, Sharon, as well. So nice to have you all here. And if you are watching for the first time, welcome. If you're watching on replay, please let me know if it's replay. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have an observation, please go ahead and jump in and ask away or comment away, and I'll share it. And hello, Margaret from Cairns. Rainy today. Yes, it was rainy here too, kind of that hot cold. And we found a new trail today, which was pretty good. So we didn't go far, but it was quite strenuous today on our hiking. So which is all good skills, and all good skills that I'll translate to you guys inside our membership as well. So when a crack becomes a canyon. So have you ever been in that situation where you think, I have a plan, I have a great plan, and everything is set out, it's nice and smooth, and then something happens that derails you from your plan for just a little bit, and you think it's okay, it's just a momentary thing, I'll get back to my plan, and then you can't quite get back to your plan, and then all of a sudden that little crack in your plan, that little crack in the routine has become this big void that you think, I'm too far gone, I'm too far away, I'm too far removed to actually get back to where I need to be, to get back on track, to get back on plan. And to me, this is like when a crack becomes a canyon, because we can tend to catastrophize it in our own heads about, just how big this gap is from where we've deviated from our plan. Now, let me share some things here. So, it could be that there's one tiny thing. You have this great plan for whatever it might be in your life, but let's just say it's hiking, right? Because that's why we're here. And you've got a plan and you've got an adventure coming up, and you've got the rhythm of that. And then one tiny thing comes in your way. And I've seen this. We're all women, we're all nurturers. It's probably, might be nodding your head in just a moment, that if you're working, there's an extra task that's come up and you need to stay on for an extra 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, that walk that you were going to do after work or before work because you needed to get there early, or that hike that you were planning to do, or that gym session or yoga or whatever it might be, is just pushed out the door. It's like, well, now I'm stuck at work for an extra 15 minutes. I can't make the class, or I can't get to the gym, or I'll get stuck in traffic, or there's no point now because by the time I do this, this, and this, and this, the night will be over. Or we're caring for someone unexpectedly. They need mum, they need sister, they need daughter, they need aunt, they need you. And you think, well, that's really important, and it is really important, but that means that the opportunity cost of me caring for that person means I can't do that to care for myself, which is all well and good, and I would do exactly the same. But that might happen again and again and again, and we don't create or carve or make some other time in our day to give that time back to ourselves again. Or there's a little niggle in the knee, or the foot or shoulder, or or I don't have the right piece of gear, so I've got to wait till I get such and such, or I can't do that because it's too hot. And so we have this grand plan, and then all of a sudden we either have cracks that are maybe out of our control appear, or cracks that are in our control because we don't want to say no to something else start to appear, or cracks just start to appear. And so over time, if we don't address these, it's just tiny little cracks, just a tiny little hiccup in our heartbeat, that they will become big canyons that are quite hard to come back from. So let me check in on who else is here. Hello, Karen. Hello, Sandra. Hello, Leanne. And hello, Kerry. So all over Australia today. So lovely to have you here. So someone asked me yesterday, we were doing some training, and they said, because most of you know that I did the marathon, and they said, well, look, how did you do it? How, not in as in Iran, but like with all that goes on, how did you fit in all the training? How did you stay focused on the plan? Now, I've been doing hiking, I've been running, I've been in women's health and fitness for nearly 2 decades, nearly 20 years. That's a long time, isn't it? And what I did was I had a plan, and I took the long-term view of the plan. So our life is not a race. We don't have to get everything done today. But if we think about our life's journey, everything we do should move us towards the type of person that we want to be. So for me, health and wellness is important. Being active is really important for as long as I possibly can, because I know one day that I won't be able to be as active as I am now. But what I did with my plan is I knew that and I often talk about with hiking our Goldilocks plan, that knowing enough in advance of something you want to do, or having your fitness at a level that lets you be able to pick and choose what hikes you want to do, rather than this last minute hot chili, burn your butt off, stressed out to the max kind of plan. So when they said, how did you fit it all in? I said, great. This is easy. I have a coach, and I firmly believe that for any physical activity, a coach is really the way to go. And I worked with my coach and said, this is what I want to do. I'm giving you my whole calendar for the year, and I want you to help me find a way to make this work, because this is my goal that I want to do. So it would have been very easy for me to, and I'm sharing this as an example. I'm not sharing this as, I have all the answers. I'm just sharing this as an example, that it would have been very easy for me on those days where my alarm went off in the early, 3s in the morning, to roll over and go, one day isn't going to matter. It would have been very easy to me in my previous years of running, where I needed to care for parents, to say, this is not for me. But I found a way. I in the years that I was caring for my parents, I adjusted my goals, so it wasn't marathon during that time. But I just worked with it and found a way, and looked at my life and went, okay, well, if a crack appears here, I've got some space there. But I'm not going to give away space for me. I'm going to push something else aside. I'm going to care for people, or do that extra bit at work, or whatever I need to do, but I'm still going to carve time for me. And that's how I found a way through the maze of all the things that I did this year, because that thing was really important to me. So let's check in on who else is here. Hello, Alethea. Hello, Sue. Haven't seen you in a while. Hello, Christine. Still over in WA. Excellent. I have an email to send to you. And hello, Mary. Nice to see you this morning. Hello, Barbara. Haven't seen you in a little while. And hello, Kerry as well. So look forward to seeing you soon too. So the other thing, this crack becomes a canyon, is that the time will pass anyway. So, whether they say the best day to plant a tree was yesterday and the second best day is today, is that in where are we now? Say the end of October. In 8 weeks, it will be Christmas. That time is going to pass. Whatever we choose to do in the next 8 weeks, 8 weeks will go by. So we can choose to find a way, or we can choose to let this little crack. For most of us, work gets busy, socializing gets busy, and we can push ourselves to the back, is to just find a way to put you in the priority list there. So if you have a comment on this, or you have a life experience that you would like to share, then please share it with me. Hello, Colleen. Nice to have you here as well. So one of the things, we tend to do with this crack, and here's another personal story, is many years ago, it would be about 7 years ago now, my husband had some cancer, and he had that removed, and it's all okay. And he was on the couch recovering. And at the same time, I broke my wrist mountain biking. And so I wasn't able to drive for 9 weeks. And so we sat on the couch. And one thing that I wasn't able to do too many hikes, and I didn't have the confidence to do too many hikes because I was terrified of falling over. And one of the things I did as I sat there on the couch was, you kind of get this feeling, and if this has ever happened to you, please let me know, because I'm sure I'm not the only one, is you kind of go, okay, there's a crack here. The crack means I don't have to get up and go running at 5 a.m. The crack means that I don't have to go to the gym. The crack means that I have this as a reason for not doing certain things, even though I was doing all the physio and everything like that. And then that crack got wider and wider, and it became almost a canyon. And it was, when I was healed, do I want to go back to running? Do I want to get up at the 5 a.m.? And going to the point of an edge and thinking, okay, well, I can crawl myself back from the edge and get back to all those things that served me well and that I loved, or I can just go, it's all too hard, and I'm going over the edge into that canyon. So it's important to know that, is the crack, is it the niggle in the knee, is it the time at work? And I know some of you who are watching, and haven't identified themselves, is that work always gets in the way. It's like, oh, I can't, work got in the way, work got in the way, work got in the way, work got in the way. You know who you are. I had to stay back at work. I had to do this. I had to do that. And the training gets to be that hot chili pepper, burn your butt off, or I'm not coming anymore. And that's the end of that. And then that crack has become this big canyon, and it's really hard to claw your way back from. But we can also catastrophize with our cracks and canyons and think, okay, well, I have a little niggle in my knee. Oh my gosh, that's the end of my hiking career. My knee is ruined. I'll never be able to go and do hills again, blah, 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 blah. So, if I miss a week of my training, it's all over because of my knee. And then what if I get to the hike and I can't do this and I can't do that? So it is that catastrophizing, or I'll book into something when I get fit. But the whole point of doing something is to get fit. So it's this, you could call them excuses. And I know one of our lovely members who isn't watching tonight said her life changed when she threw away all of those excuses. She just went, that's an excuse. She recognized them for what they are. Now, I know with knee issues, there's a lot of women out there, and men who when I say what I do, it's like, I don't hike, I don't run, I don't do this because I have sore knees. And if we look into the structure of most of us, yes, there might be a little bit of arthritis. Yes, there might be a few with some historical knee injuries, knee surgeries and things like that. But most of the time, doing strength training, doing work on our bodies will help us overcome that chasm of our knee being the crack that turns into the canyon of not being able to do the things that we really like, and enjoy. One of the things that we can also do is just exaggerate it as well, that I have, I've woken up with a sore toe, so therefore I can't, that's going to affect my knee, which will affect my shoulder, which will affect my day on the hike and my blah, and, just catastrophizing and exaggerating and taking it to the most what if extreme. The other thing when the crack becomes a canyon when it comes to our training plans is summer hiking. And as we all move into the warmer months in Australia, one of the things we find, I guess the fortunate thing for Queenslanders, and I know North Queensland, you struggle a lot more because you're so humid up there, is how do you hike in the heat so that when you go to hike somewhere warm, and I've seen this, it's like, well, I don't train in the heat because I don't like it in the heat. And then you go to Europe in, the summer, the shoulder period in Europe is now May through to, October. It was still warm when we were there in Corsica, and it was very warm when we were there, early June, a heat wave. So, if you're not in Europe in those times, you're in like the off season, and a lot of places close down. So important that training in the heat doesn't become your crack of where I can't do it because it's too warm for me to hike, therefore I'm not going to hike at all. And then you get to that point where, well, I can't go and do that because it's in the heat, and then that gap gets wider and wider and you miss out on stuff. So really important to recognize what this gap is. Is it just take it for what it is and just an isolated incident and address it and go, okay, well, I can't do that today because this happened, but I am going to make time for myself to do this tomorrow, and something else is going to have to push out because we only have an infinite amount of time, and we can't make more time no matter what we do. We all have the same amount of time. It's just making sure that we give ourselves the gift of time for our own health and our own wellness. And one of the things we were talking about today is having those goals and having those fitness goals and being active, and as active as we possibly can while we can. So Sue says, I've been sidetracked by 4 weeks of illness, and we can't help illness. What we need to do is make sure that when we have an illness that we go and get the support that we need. And I know you do, Sue, and that we follow that health advice to return to movement when we can in the way that is safe and supportive for us, but never using it as I'm ill now that I'll never get back to what I was doing before, because there will be a way. And you're already all over that, Sue. So, I know that your crack isn't going to become a canyon there. So, and Kerry says, my fear of failing at the hike made me push aside my hating hiking in the heat excuse. Yeah, and look, hiking in the heat, for members, we have our summer hiking masterclass in the library there. Hiking in the heat is a learned thing, and hiking in the heat is about understanding our bodies, understanding how our bodies react and cope in different heat, starting early. Well, just understanding our bodies to start with, and I know there's a few of you on here that we've had this discussion in the past. How does our body cope in the heat? How do we hydrate leading up to a hike? How do we hydrate during the hike? How do we hydrate after the hike? What happens, knowing my body enough that if I'm overheating, what does that, what does normal feel like? So I know what abnormal feels like as well. Knowing when to go, okay, it's not safe for me to hike as well today. Or knowing that, the type of clothing and the type of gear and stuff like that. And that friendly fear, Kerry, is a great thing of, none of us like hiking in the heat. None of us particularly like hiking in the cold, but we like hiking. So, it's finding how our own rhythm works in those climates so we can actually enjoy the most wherever we go. Colleen says, I'm 2 weeks post bilateral total knee replacement, working my way back slowly. Thankfully, I did 6 to 8 months preparation prior to surgery. Absolutely, Colleen. And one of the things that's really important is, when we get unwell or we get sick, is that, if we're here with our level of fitness and something happens and we get sick and we take ourselves out, we need a bit to get up to where we were. So, if we, you knew you were coming into that knee replacement, so being up here means, you've got every chance of getting back up there again and having a plan and having that good support around you as well. So that's a fantastic thing. We also tend to do this avoidance thing, this crack in the canyon. It's like, and I know in our community, and I know outside of our community as well, is that, I can't do this because work is always there. I can't, and I know many of you found amazing ways to make it happen for you as well. So we've got both, but it's like, or the check-in, the accountability is I'm not going to do that, because if I stick my head in the sand till I cannot possibly keep my head in the sand anymore, then I don't have to actually address any of these things. I can let that crack get wider and wider and wider till it's so painful that I actually need to do something about it. And, one of the things that served me well in all my marathon training was making sure that I had that coach and making sure that I had that accountability and that community of support, so that if I needed to, got sick of running on my own, or I needed an accountability buddy, or I needed someone to come and run my last 5K training with me, at the end of a big long run, that I could put my hand up and someone would do that. And I wasn't putting my head in the sand thinking, she'll be right, I'll be right, they'll modify the course for me, they'll do this, they'll do that. That doesn't work. So, the head in the sand, the ostrich, is another way of making that crack become a canyon till you've ignored it so much that it's such a big leap to get back to where you need to get back to. One of the things, during the pandemic years was really challenging years for us here at Women's Fitness Adventures, because we are outdoors and adventure and travel and all sorts of things. And we couldn't go to too many places, and everything for everyone was so uncertain, all of us. And, they don't seem like a distant memory yet, but they are, fading with each day that we go forward. But making just tiny, small steps that would move us forward. So, so perhaps your plan for today's hike or the weekend's hike didn't work. So how do we learn from that? We are all just, learning this little bit of self-improvement for how we plan, how perhaps we execute, how perhaps we reschedule, how perhaps we prioritize ourselves as well. So, taking it by one small incremental step. Maybe you stayed back at work and you had, half an hour planned for your after work walk, and now you've only got 20 minutes. Why not go for that 20 minutes? So it doesn't have to be this all or nothing, because we find that the all or nothing turns that crack into its big canyon as well. So Leanne says, this has been me over the past few months. Life got in the way and the crack widened. Now I've made a commitment to myself to get back on track. Absolutely, Leanne. And if we think about those great moments, just go watch the video from Great Ocean Road, and that will get you back motivated. And if you can't find it, just message me in here. But the life got in the way is such a great thing. And I'm glad you've put that in quotation marks as well, because our life is what we do in the minutiae, the rhythm, the seconds of each and every single day. So when we say life got in the way, they say if you don't plan your things the way you want to do them, then someone else or something else will come in and take that over as well. And it sounds like, Leanne, that you've kind of got to that point and go, enough is enough. Things in life happen, and I can do all those things in life, but I also need to do the doing for me as well. So when I was at the physio the other day, I have a little niggle in my Achilles, which is nothing to worry about. But, as I said, worth addressing, because I don't want that little issue in my foot to be something that becomes bigger than it needed to be. But the physio and I were chatting about just population in general and how people come in with, injuries or niggles to physios, and then that becomes a reason to not do something again going forward in the future. And, unless there's been some major thing happen physiologically with our bodies, most of the stuff that are niggles and, annoyances, with, adequate training and rehabilitation, we can come back from. And, one of the great sayings at the moment, and you can adapt this to any part of your life, is, because I know many of you aren't gym goers, but I want you to translate this to aspects of your life. It's better to be the oldest person in the gym than the youngest person in the nursing home. So this accumulation of strength, of mobility, of stability, of using what we have, of giving time to ourselves, because, not being morbid, but one day, whenever that might be, the choices we have now around our freedom of movement, our freedom of where we go, of what we choose to do, will be less than what we have now. So, it's easy to think, and as kids, we have generally the whole world in front of us. with the wisdom of all of our years, we know that we still have the whole world in front of us if we choose to take it. But let's make sure that we can take it in a very strong, capable, physical way that gives us joy and gives us pleasure as we go. So hopefully this crack versus canyon, where whatever you want to do with it, has given you something to think about this afternoon. It certainly gave me lots of food for thought as I, came back over the past 2 weeks into, the routine of my life, which I love. And it's a great thing to have routine and rhythm in your life, because it makes those times where it's not routine and rhythm, and you have things to look forward to, extra special as well. So what is coming up at Women's Fitness Adventures? Now, I know some of you, you might get an email from us, some of you tomorrow, but we have decided as a team to put the Outback Queensland Adventure on again. So Sandra, that might be one for you. Trish will send you an email tomorrow. In July of next year. We so love that adventure. It is amazing, and it is back on again. So that's really exciting to do. A couple of our adventures sold out this week. So Morocco sold out, Japan sold out, and our Larapinta sold out as well. Our 100K program for Larapinta, that sold out too. And we still have a couple of spots on our our Vietnam. I think there's 2 spots on our Vietnam adventure. 1 spot on our Pyrenees in September next year. And about half full on our Painters Way in Germany hike. And that is one that you don't want to miss. Germany is just absolutely the bee's knees. So I really encourage you to have a look at that one. And that's 128 kilometers. The Painters Way hike is so, so beautiful. And we can connect you up with anyone that you want to have a chat about that if that's of interest to you. Book club starts again soon. The book is quite good. I'm taking book club, so I look forward to sharing book club with you at all. And hello, Trey. Welcome if it's your first time. So thank you for tuning in from Wodonga as well. So as we count down on the 8 weeks to Christmas, give you some homework, some challenges to do. And I did this today at our hike training session in Brisbane. The homework for everyone is to, when you're sitting in your chair at night, if you have time to sit in your chair at night to watch TV or read a book or something like that, is when you get up from the chair, I want you to, and it's probably a comfy lounge chair, I want you to just take note of how you get up. Do you rock forward and back to get up? Do you use your hands to push yourself up? So I challenge you to plant your feet on the ground and wiggle yourself to the edge of the chair, and then push your feet into the ground, squeeze your bottom together, and stand up without using your hands. Why is that important? It's really important because it's all part of the process of how we get up and down off the ground with ease. And we know that sometimes, it's hard getting up and down off the ground, but we want to make sure that we're building some strong muscles that do that. So have a think about how you do it. I know we asked the question today and everyone said, just rock myself out of my chair, because we're not thinking about it. But it's just a little challenge that you can do on a daily basis to just see where you're at, and just becomes that awareness. And when we have that awareness, we can build a stronger body for ourselves. So that's it from me. If you're watching on the replay, please let me know. If you have any questions that you think about afterwards, just drop them in here and give me a tag. If you have any questions about adventures, then please let me know as well. Hopefully we'll see you soon. Sue, Leanne, looking forward to your comeback. And Colleen, I hope that your working back slowly works really well for you as well. So thanks for tuning in. I look forward to catching up with you next Monday on Monday Night Live. Thanks so much, and see you then.